My name is Chloe, and I had just landed my dream job. Fresh out of hospitality school, I was hired as a junior manager at the Street Regis, a 5-star hotel that was the crown jewel of the city. I was ambitious, idealistic, and ready to work tirelessly to prove myself. At the center of this glittering world was Mr. Alistair Finch, the hotel's general manager. He was a legend in the industry, impeccably dressed, impossibly charismatic, and he seemed to command respect with a single glance. To my astonishment, he noticed me. Within a month, he had singled me out, praising my reports and my initiative. He offered to become my personal mentor. "You have a rare talent, Chloe," he told me during a meeting in his opulent office. "I see a future general manager in you." I was ecstatic. I felt like I had won the lottery. The mentorship started with extra assignments and strategy meetings, but soon the nature of our sessions began to change. The meetings would be scheduled later and later, often after everyone else had gone home. The topics would drift from hotel operations to my personal life. His compliments became more personal, shifting from my work to my appearance. A hand on my shoulder would linger a second too long. He'd insist I call him Alistair, but only when we were alone. I felt a growing sense of unease, a knot tightening in my stomach. But I told myself I was misinterpreting things. This was a powerful man, a mentor. I couldn't afford to seem ungrateful or paranoid. The breaking point came one evening when he called me to his office to discuss urgent budget revisions. The office was dark, save for a single desk lamp. He poured 2 glasses of whiskey, and when I politely declined, he insisted. He started talking about a business trip to Milan, suggesting I should join him. "It would be an excellent learning opportunity," he said, his eyes holding mine in a way that had nothing to do with business. The unspoken offer hung in the air, thick and suffocating. I managed to make an excuse and flee, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and humiliation. I knew I couldn't handle this alone. The next day, I confided in the head of human resources, a woman named Miss Davies. She was a respected, senior figure in the hotel, and she listened to my story with a look of deep, maternal concern. "You did the right thing by coming to me, Chloe," she said, taking my hand. "This is completely unacceptable. Let me handle this. I'll speak to him discreetly." "You are safe." I left her office, a wave of profound relief washing over me. I wasn't alone. Someone was on my side. The relief I felt was short-lived. A week went by, and nothing changed. In fact, things got worse. Mr. Finch's behavior became colder, more passive-aggressive. He would openly criticize my work in meetings over trivial details, undermining my authority in front of my team. Miss Davies kept telling me to be patient, that these things take time. Then, the trap was sprung. I was in charge of organizing a major charity gala at the hotel. I had triple-checked every detail. But on the morning of the event, the main ballroom's audio-visual system, which had worked perfectly the day before, was dead. The IT department found that a critical piece of software had been wiped from the server. It was a disaster. The event was salvaged, but the hotel's reputation took a hit. An investigation was launched immediately, and it led directly to me. Server logs, which I knew had to be falsified, showed that the software was deleted from my work computer late the previous night. I had an alibi. I was having dinner with my parents, but it was my word against the digital evidence. I was called into a final meeting with Mr. Finch and Miss Davies. The maternal concern was gone from Miss Davies's face, replaced by a cold, corporate mask. Mr. Finch played the part of the disappointed mentor. "I had such high hopes for you, Chloe," he said, shaking his head. "But this level of negligence, and some have even suggested it was deliberate sabotage. After I turned down your advances," I stared at him in horror, realizing the full extent of the conspiracy. Miss Davies had never spoken to him on my behalf. She had warned him. They had worked together to create a narrative, to frame me, to turn my complaint into a story of a scorned, unstable woman lashing out. "This is a lie," I said, my voice trembling. "He was harassing me, and I told you." I looked at Miss Davies, pleading with my eyes. She just stared back at me coldly. Your accusations were noted, Chloe. But in light of this incident, we have no choice but to terminate your employment, effective immediately. I was escorted out of my dream job in disgrace. My reputation was in tatters, and my spirit was broken. They hadn't just fired me, they had made it seem like it was all my fault. For a few weeks, I was lost in a fog of depression. But as the despair began to fade, it was replaced by a single, burning emotion: rage. They would not get away with this. I knew I couldn't fight them through official channels. They had the power, the money, and a fabricated story. So, I started digging. I created an anonymous social media profile and began searching for other women who had worked closely with Mr. Finch at the Street Regis or his previous hotels and had left abruptly. It took time, but I found them. One was a sommelier in another city. Another was an event planner who had left the industry entirely. I reached out to them, sharing my story, and they shared theirs. The pattern was identical. The mentorship, the inappropriate advances, and when they resisted, a sudden, inexplicable workplace error that led to their termination. We were a silent sisterhood of his victims, each of us thinking we were alone. Together, we had a mountain of evidence, old emails, text messages, and eerily similar stories that could not be a coincidence. We decided to bypass HR, to bypass the system that was designed to protect men like him. We compiled everything into a single, anonymous dossier, detailing Miss Finch's years-long pattern of abuse and Miss Davies' complicity in covering it up. We sent it not to the hotel's corporate office, but to the one person who had more to lose than anyone, the hotel's primary owner, a powerful billionaire who was famously protective of his brand's image. The fallout was a nuclear explosion in the hospitality world. The owner, furious at the risk to his reputation, launched an immediate, scorched earth investigation led by an outside legal team. They found the real server logs, proving the evidence against me had been faked. They found a history of payoffs and non-disclosure agreements. Mr. Finch was fired in the most public and humiliating way possible. His legendary career was over. Miss Davies was also terminated for her role in the cover-up. The story was leaked to a major newspaper, and the scandal was immense. A few weeks later, I received a formal letter from the hotel's new management. It contained a profound apology, a generous financial settlement, and an offer to return to my job. With a promotion, I politely declined the job offer. I had no desire to return to that world. My fight hadn't been about getting my old job back. It had been about justice. I took the settlement and used it to start my own consulting firm, helping hotels create safer, more ethical workplace environments. I had walked into the Street Regis as an idealistic girl, and they had tried to break me. But they had failed. They had inadvertently forged me into a warrior. And my new dream wasn't just to succeed in the industry, it was to change it.